Today's video is the second one of the 3 videos related to Shanxi merchants. I was at a small town located on the east bank of the Yellow River. It used to be an important river-to-land transfer hub for Shanxi merchants. I also went to a village nearby whose villagers are descendants of a rich family in the town. The village is a combination of castle, houses, and ancestral hall, similar to Hakka woodhouse. In the village, you'll see Yaodong, a traditional Chinese residence that's common in Les Plateaux. Hello, I'm Yan Yan. I'm in a town called Qikou by the Yellow River in Shanxi province. Across the river is Shanxi province. Do you remember me standing by the other side of the river telling you how to pronounce Shanxi and Shanxi province? This part of the Yellow River is the border of Shanxi and Shanxi provinces. The pronunciation of these 2 provinces are very tricky. Shanxi and Shanxi. You know, in Chinese we have 4 accents: ma, 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 ma. So shan, 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 shan. Shanxi, the first accent, is that province. Shanxi, the third accent, is this province. Can you guys do that? Today I'm on the east bank of the river, and let's take a look at this town with typical Les Plateaux features. On the highest point, above all other architecture, is the Black Dragon Temple built in the 16th century in the hope that deities would bless this place flood-free. Above the entrance is a stage facing the worshipping hall. It's designed this way because in pre-modern Chinese folk tradition, artistic and entertaining performances were part of the worship activities. This kind of design also featured in guild halls around country built in the same period of time. With passing of time, performances have evolved from entertaining deities to people. This place also served the purpose of convention. On both sides of the stage, there is space for audience. And of course, majority audience would sit in the courtyard. As the focal point of the architecture, stages usually have elaborate decoration and unique designs. In this stage, artists went on stage from the 2 doors at the back. This is what it looks like behind the stage. They say the acoustic effect of this stage is so good that opera played here can be even heard in Shanxi Place across the Yellow River. Let's go to the pavilion located at the side of the stage. Shanxi province is just on the other side of the river, not far away. Let's look at the map. This is Shanxi province. This is Shanxi province. This section of the Yellow River is the border of 2 provinces. In my last video, I was here on the southern bank of the river. Qiankun Bend is here. I was standing at the western bank of the river in Shanxi province. Qikou is here, and I was at the eastern bank of the river in Shanxi province. There are riverside highways on both sides of the river, and it's definitely worth a road trip. When the Black Dragon Temple was built in the 16th century, this town just barely started to emerge, but it was far from the peak of prosperity. Today's story is still part of Shanxi merchants. The brothers went west and built their business in Mongolia. They shipped tea and other products from China to West China, Mongolia, Far East, and even Russia. But trade was never one way. They also shipped local products from those places to the rest of China. One way was through the Yellow River. But when merchant fleet arrived in Qikou, they couldn't advance anymore. This is Qikou. This is the edge of the plateau. The soil that this Qiushi River brought to the Yellow River settled near the confluence of the two rivers. Here, the width of the Yellow River shrinks dramatically from 400 meters to only 80 meters, and it's followed by a 100-degree bend. The current is running too strong here for merchant fleet to pass, so goods had to be loaded onshore and shipped to other parts of Shanxi via mule. Because of this town became a very important port and became prosperous. Yellow River is very dangerous to navigate, especially in pre-modern China. When crewmen saw the Black Dragon Temple up in the plateau from afar, they could be relieved that they had finally reached the Qikou town. As freight volume increased, the town became busier and busier. Freight companies opened business in the town. They shipped goods to major cities in Shanxi and from there to Beijing and other places of China. Stores of grain, fur, herbal were also opened in the town. Merchants from around the country would come here to purchase goods. And then hotels, restaurants were opened up in the town to accommodate businessmen from around the country. Qikou became a very prosperous town. This used to be a pawn shop. Look at wire meshes. They were installed to prevent thieves. The pawn shop was owned by a person from the biggest family of the town, the Chen clan. Above the pawn shop was the Chamber of Commerce of Qikou, set up in late 19th century. 1.5 kilometers away from the town, there is a village. It's where the Chen clan lives. This village reminds me of Hakka wood houses in terms that it's also a combination of houses, ancestral hall, and castle in some degree. The people in this village have the same last name, Chen. That's a typical Chinese last name. Their ancestor made a fortune from Yellow River transportation business. He chose this place to build his house. His descendants also built house around his house. Gradually, this place grew into a village. The whole village is surrounded by walls, leaving only 3 gates in the south, representing heaven, earth, and human from ancient Taoism. It makes the village a castle-like place. This is the outer wall of the village. Not as formidable as Hakka wood house, of course, because the environment that Chen clan lived in was not as hostile as that of Hakka people during the same period. For 300 years from 17th century to 20th century, the Chen family had grown to a village of more than 40 houses. There are 5 stone streets like this in the village, representing the 5 elements of ancient Chinese Taoism: gold, wood, water, fire, and soil. The 5 alleys brought on the slope of the mountain. The slope is about 30 degrees and it makes the village flood-free. There are 5 branches in the Chen clan, each living in one of the alleys. The 5 alleys are connected via horizontal alleys. Inside this narrow arc, there is a stairway which leads to the houses a level below. Each house in the village is connected to the adjacent houses so that in case there is a fire or invasion, people could be notified and escape quickly. This is the top of the village, still some distance from the top of the hill. Walking in the stone alley sort of reminded me of walking in a medieval town in Europe. But it totally felt different after I entered a house. It seems like there are 4 doors in the gate of this house, but actually there are 2 more in each side, so together there are 6 doors, and we've seen it before. The gates consist of 6 doors. Hakka people emphasize hierarchy and ancient ethic. Even entering the gate should follow the rule. There's a special rule for the door here. Men should go from left-hand side and women should go from right-hand side. Senior people in the clan or very important guests could enter from the doors in the center. Inside is a courtyard surrounded by rooms on 3 sides. This is a typical type of traditional residence in this plateau. It's called the Yaodong. This is what a Yaodong looks like inside. The roof is in arc. There is a window next to the door, which is usually the only window in the room. Next to the window, there is a kang, which is similar to a bed, but is traditionally used for general living, working, entertaining, and sleeping. Its interior cavity channels the hot exhaust from a firewood or coal fireplace. Inside a yaodong, usually it's warm in cold seasons and cool in hot seasons. Like in the Hakka wood house, there is also an ancestral hall in this village, but it's locked. Ancestral Hall is a place for villagers to worship their ancestors as well as holding ceremonial activities during festivals. It's also a place for conflict to be resolved. On the wall outside the Ancestral Hall, I found the family rule of the Chen clan. Family rules are a code of conduct for descendants of a clan, and it's a very important part of traditional Chinese culture. In 1920s, railway from Inner Mongolia to Beijing was completed. Modern transportation replaced the freight in Yellow River. This town was no longer a hub anymore. When night falls, like in every city and town in China, the inhabitants of the town would come out to dance in the square. We call it square dance in Mandarin. And here the square is below the Black Dragon Temple. People in different regions do different dances, and these are the basic steps of traditional folk dance in Les Plateau. It's called Niu Yang. Enjoy! In my next video, I'll continue with the story of Shanxi merchants and show you China's Wall Street of the 19th century. Shanxi merchants no longer satisfied with trade and freight business. They started the banking business. They opened up a network of Piaohao, which is like draft banks around the country. I'll tell you how Piaohao and shareholding system worked in China. I'm Yan Yan. I make videos about sites of interest in China and histories and stories behind them. Subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time in Pingyao.